Hey everybody. In this video, I'd like to share a personal story of mine about how I overcame my fear of performing music in public pretty much instantly, as hard as that is to believe. It's a personal story of mine, but if it helps even one person out there who's struggling with performing in public to become a more confident performer, then it'll be totally worth it. Now, when I was in school, middle school, high school, performing wasn't really that big of a deal. Sure, I'd get nervous as any normal human would, but it wouldn't be crippling. And if I had a lousy performance, sure, I'd feel bad about it for a day or two, but life would go on. That changed in college. Suddenly, I was performing for audiences of critics, either other faculty members or other students. It was a different kind of an audience of people who were just basically waiting to shred my performance apart. Now, this isn't a criticism of music schools. I mean, the idea of going to music school is you learn how to listen and the things that you like about other people's performances and what you don't like and stuff like that. But as the performer in music school, that can be very nerve-wracking. And for me, it was terrifying. I totally couldn't appreciate it at the time as I do now in retrospect. But whenever I would perform, I would start shaking uncontrollably. It didn't matter how much I prepared. It didn't matter whether I was meditating, any of that stuff. As soon as I got in public, especially trying to perform from memory, it was really, really hard for me. And if I had a memory slip or played a few wrong notes, whatever, I would feel that the devastation of that for days. And it took a while, but finally, when I was in graduate school, late into my graduate school years, I had this moment, this revelation. I was doing a lot of accompanying, more than I probably should have, but I was playing for most of the students of this one particular professor who basically could never be satisfied. And of course, we all want teachers who are going to have high standards and they're going to expect a lot of us. But this teacher took it to kind of a toxic level. I mean, it did not matter how well you prepared for this gentleman. It was always bad. There was always so much that needed improving. There was never one good thing to say about it. And that has a way of crippling you, whether you're his student or accompanying for his student during a coaching. And the moment I stopped being afraid of performing in public. Not entirely stop being afraid. I mean, adrenaline is a necessary part of this whole performance thing. Otherwise, performing isn't interesting if there's no excitement or energy there. But the being terrified went away during a recital when I was accompanying a student. And I had this moment in the middle of a performance. It's almost like my life flashing before my eyes. They say that your life flashes before your eyes before you die. This was a similar experience to that, but it was revolving around this idea of performing in public and worrying about what other people think. With this particular professor, I had this moment where I realized it doesn't matter how well I play. This person is never going to be satisfied. And I had this moment where I realized that that's okay. And not only was it okay, but it was freeing because I didn't have to care about that anymore. It was beautiful. So, and I remember it was right in the middle of the piece. The rest of that, I didn't care anymore. I just decided I'm going to enjoy this. If I play a couple wrong notes, nobody cares. These aren't real audiences that we play for in music school. Yeah, they're real audiences, but they're not your typical concert-going audience. And my performing life was forever changed after that moment because I realized that when you play for an audience, you're either going to have people who love you no matter what, whether it's a good performance or not as good performance, they're there to share in that joy with you, or people are never going to be satisfied. People who criticize you, that says more about them than about you. So if those are your two types of audience members, then what is there to worry about? I hope you enjoyed the story. That's pretty much the end of the story. The takeaway, if you made it this far in the video, is this. Next time you perform in public, if you're feeling nervous, just remember, the people who love you will love you no matter what. And anybody that would think to criticize you can go pound sand. It says way more about them than it does about you. So be free, enjoy sharing music the way it was meant to be shared, and have fun. Thanks for watching.